Hi, I'm Jennifer Janisch, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair. Hi, everyone. It's me, Jennifer, from the Curly Girls Obsessions. And today I have on here with me Jim from Jim and Henry. When you look at her, you're like, that's not Jim, but she's Jim. Great nickname from her older sister. I love your story, and I'm super excited to talk with you. This is our first time conversing back and forth. It's amazing what social media does for us and the power of podcasts because she's actually in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us about you.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Tammy. I'm the founder behind
Right.
Jim and
She's like, I'm
Henry.
not Jim.
Yeah, by the way, like strictly reserved for my big sister. Yes, I'm Tammy. I'm the founder behind Jim and Henry. And this journey has just been an emotional one. It really has, into launching my hair care range. So, I used to be a journalist in London, and I was writing about intellectual property, but I was mixing so many products together. I was going to Planet Organic, I was going to Whole Foods, I was going to, the natural girly vibes, all those stores, and buying the organic hair products, but they just weren't thick enough. They weren't thick, and they just weren't nourishing enough for my curls. Obviously, my thick, I'd say 3C hair, but we at Jim and Henry tend to move away from those terms, which I'll get into later. So my thick curly hair, and I started mixing things together, and I just thought it's not good enough. I need to actually do this myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we started, which feels like a long time ago because it was 6 years ago now.
That is a long time ago. It's
Yeah.
like when I read your story on your About page, it was so intriguing to me about just how you and your sister is part of it too, or were you more the researcher?
No, so I get that all the time because we're twins. So the nickname's Jim and Henry. She's Henry, according to my big sister. But I just use the names for the company. She's not. Terry's a yoga teacher, completely different. So yeah.
How did you guys get those nicknames?
I mean, it's a long.
That it's such a cute, like I always was like I kind of was a tomboy growing up and but still, girly. And I always found it so intriguing when people like like a girl had a boy name, right? And I have
Mhm.
clients who the mom was, we call her Chris, but her name is Christopher. And her kids are Michelin and Brady, like, but she calls them Mike and Brady. So like,
Love
and
that.
I was, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, it's to do with Disney.
Oh,
Um, it's to do with Disney and Lady and the Tramp. And yeah, Danielle is better at explaining it, but it's a story like that. Yeah, so
its
I'm Jim.
background is Disney. I got it. She really she wanted little puppies instead of little sisters. Is that what?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely Danielle. So yeah.
So,
Mm.
how did you find me? Like, I know that's how, like, you reached out to me, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool.
I mean, gosh, honestly, I'm kind of on this crusade, and I have been for a few years, but really to educate people about ingredients and curly hair. And because I mean, you all know, there's just this abundance of misinformation. And really, conflicting advice for different hair textures and for different lives and for different people, whether you're a parent with kids, whether you're a single person like me, whether you're older. And there's just so much misinformation out there that I just want to cut through the noise. So
Mhm.
I was looking for podcasters who did that, who told the truth, who were like, okay, let's just tell the truth. Let's just see what's going on. And I came across yours. And that's when I came across your story. And I was like, I love this. I love this. Like, you know, how you say, you know, I was having dinner. Was it Christmas, New Year's Eve? Was it New Year's Eve?
Oh, yeah, when I got the phone call to
Yeah.
go, and I was like, "Later."
I love that you were like, you know, that wasn't my vibe. That wasn't the flex I was on. But I realized I wanted to do something, so I went for it. Love that. Love
Yeah,
that.
I really like I'm definitely someone who I say this in so many podcasts, like I jump feet first and think about it later because right, if you think about it too much, you'll talk yourself out of it. Even with
Yeah.
just us connecting, right? And
Mm.
like when we first started messaging, I'm like, "Oh gosh, she's in the UK. Like what is even the time difference?" Like I know when I deal with like India, when I'm on conversations with them on WhatsApp or something, it's like 10 p.m. at night or
Hmm.
6 a.m. in the morning, So I was
Hmm.
like, how could we make this work? I don't even know what the time difference is. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just, we'll just figure it out. And then even
Yeah.
as far as today, I was like, oh gosh, like usually I will send over several questions that I'm going to ask,
Mm.
make sure that they're okay, right? Because not
Mhm.
everybody wants to talk about everything like
Yeah.
but I do like things to just run like
Yeah.
conversation because that's the best. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I send over the questions and 9 times out of 10, it's like, we're just going to talk and it's just going to
Yeah.
flow into a certain direction.
Yeah.
So
Jennifer, I'm
yeah,
so sorry. Can I just grab my charger? I can
yeah,
see that my
yeah,
battery's about
yeah.
to die.
You're
Just
totally fine.
bear with me. Just plug it in. Oh my God, it's going to stretch. Tell me it's going to be fine. Oh,
Don't
dead.
it's always like, how do I
Honest.
adjust this? How do I get better lighting? How do I the
Oh,
middle of
oh, the amount of times, the issues.
I know, but we're all in them, so it's fine. It's totally fine. So
Yeah.
tell me about your company. I loved how you have like such clean ingredients because you're worried about the health of people and the things that go on their head, which in today's world, like I feel like at least once a week, I hear about someone else with some kind of terminal illness, right? And
Mhm.
it's like you don't realize all the things that you ingest that
Mhm.
create all these problems. And in the US, like it's not a very well, I guess if you're searching it out, like our
Mhm.
government is not as particular about the foods that we eat as they are in the
Mhm.
UK or Europe or Italy. And
Yeah.
the things that our food goes through in order for us like, pasteurization and stuff. So many people with dairy issues. I know this because I can't eat dairy. They're like, if you
Mhm.
go to Italy, you probably will be able to eat cheese because
Mhm.
it's not put through the rigorous process that it is
Yeah.
here. Even to the
Mhm.
point, I'm a big coffee drinker. Do you know the
Mhm.
US is like the last in line for Starbucks? Like Starbucks, the best beans go
Mhm.
to Europe and Italy and because the standards are so high
You're
that by the time
joking.
no. In the US, the coffee beans, a lot of them, I'm not just saying Starbucks, right? Like I don't need no lawsuit here, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the disclaimer, right? The things that I've read is that by the time
Mhm.
the US, we take the last of the last, who knows why, but like there's
Mhm.
usually a high concentration of mold in the coffee beans that make it over here.
Oh, crikey. That makes me feel quite unwell.
Yeah,
That
so
makes me
that's
feel
when
quite unwell.
you're like, then you need to, like, purchase organic coffee beans because
Yeah,
you're not gonna get it,
yeah.
and you're like, "Okay, it does say
Mm,
organic, but how organic is organic?" Like,
mhm, mhm.
it's a weird thing, and
Exactly.
it
Mm,
blows my mind how many health issues we have in the US and
mhm,
how much it's actually costing our health system, right?
mhm.
But it's like,
Yeah.
okay, the doctors need jobs, the surgeons need jobs.
Right,
Just
right.
keep this obesity thing pumping and this
Ugh.
unhealthy lifestyle. So, can you
Mhm.
explain that journey? Like you
Yeah.
researching ingredients is no small task. Like,
Mm,
it's huge. So,
mhm,
while you're looking for something to be healthy, but also that works on your hair, how does that work?
mhm. So it's quite a story. So I started doing this when I was about 13 years old. I remember there was stuff on the news, this is like early 2000, well, mid 2000. There was stuff on the news about sunscreen and, oh, you only need this ingredient, zinc oxide, and then these ingredients. And I remember slathering, it was like spring here. So it was cool. It wasn't hot at all. It was cool. And I remember applying sunscreen and my friends were like, "What do you have on your face? Why? Why have you got this on your face?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm really aware of my skin. I'm really aware of my skin. I'm concerned. And I know this is the active ingredient." And they just looked at me like, "Okay, okay, you're a bit weird." And then Gillian McKeith, I don't know if you know Gillian McKeith, the health woman, she's an author, came out over here. She had a program, You Are What You Eat, and it had such an impact on 12, 13-year-old me, where I was like, right, mom, dad, we need organic carrots, we need organic produce in the house. And they were like, okay, Tam, we're going to get what we can afford, sweetheart, basically.
Right.
But since then, I have been somewhat health obsessed because ever since I was, gosh, about 7 years old, I had migraines. I started having migraines at about 7. And, I remember my mom taking me to the doctors and they said, oh, yeah, yeah, just cut out cheese and chocolate. I mean, for a child,
Right, impossible.
yeah, I was horrified. But my parents tried, they really did try their best. And then when I got to my 20s, I didn't have cheese until I was about 22. Um, I remember thinking, oh, actually, it's not cheese. Hold on, do the doctors know what they're talking about? Is it something else? Is it to do with my lifestyle? Is it stress? Is it, at the time, my parents were going through a divorce and the effect that had on child me? Just
Mhm.
so many things. But back to nutrition and what we use on our skin, in our hair, and what we actually consume has been, I guess, like a sort of lifelong obsession, because I look at my grandparents and the women, my both nans on both sides, on the Jamaican and Irish side, and they have both. I mean, on my mom's side, my nan isn't here anymore, but they both experienced some sort of cancer. And you just think, hold on a second. Women who, when my nan passed, she was in her 70s, and my dad's mom is in her 80s. Like, they didn't, and my nan doesn't consume McDonald's or fast food or eat out much. She has always consumed whole foods. And the same with my Irish nan, that's just in her nature, was in her nature. And I remember just thinking, hold on a minute. What's going on here? They aren't eating junk food. They're not eating all the rubbish. What are they doing? How are they living? And they're just, fairly relaxed old women. So I was
Mhm.
thinking, right, is it skincare? Is it hair care? And with Jim and Henry, when I started formulating, just went down an absolute rabbit hole. Just went down a rabbit hole, because there's this wealth of information out there. There are so many studies, but the big brands, and I'm not brand bashing, but the big brands don't tell you. And the government over here doesn't necessarily tell you. So you have to do your research. Hold on a second. If I'm formulating, and legally over here and in Europe, you need a preservative in your product if it contains water to keep bacteria out of it. So what kind of preservation system is going on across the beauty landscape? That is a whole beast, shall we say. And
So interesting, though.
yeah, and there's some preservatives that are worse than others, like parabens and formaldehyde, which are carcinogenic. What's really concerned me even it is only in the last year, formaldehyde is obviously it's for embalming. You don't want to inhale that; it can kill you. But there are formaldehyde derivatives in so many products that aren't called parabens, that aren't called names that we now as a healthy society recognize. Instead, it's tetrasodium EDTA. And it's like, what? And then methylene glycol? I don't know that anyone on the high street or just in the co-working space that I work in, do they know what those terms mean? Does my mom know what those terms mean? Do my friends? Like, I am determined to find out and to just make people aware, because you've got to be aware. You've got to be.
So
Yeah.
explain to us those two terms in layman's terms, those two words that you just said. Like, tell
Right,
us what that means.
right. So methylene glycol and tetrasodium EDTA are derivatives of formaldehyde. They are both effective preservatives. And I've seen some cosmetic scientists recently on Instagram say, oh no, it's absolutely fine. Come on, you need a preservative. Yes, you need a preservative if the product contains water, otherwise bacteria will form. However, there are many natural and far safer preservation systems on the market. They are more expensive, but I would rather pay than know the preservatives in my hair products that I'm using on my nephew might, after 10 years of using them, 5 years, it has a cumulative effect. I don't want
Mhm.
them to affect him. And the research shows that it can cause endocrine issues. So that's your reproductive system in men and women later on in life, respiratory issues, neurological issues, lung issues, cancers. It's crazy. So
And is that the main two that are found in most beauty and hair products then?
yes, but also parabens still exist. They just they still exist, and they are proven carcinogens. They cause cancer, and it's
So how are they hidden in there? Like, what is that term, if you could
so
help us?
parabens aren't so much. Generally, they aren't. It will say BEN at the end of a long word.
Mm,
And what's quite sad and frustrating is that I know there are customers who might not be able to afford Jim and Henry. And so they go to the cheaper product and they buy
mhm.
the product that's got the parabens in. I'm sorry, that is not okay. The big brands that are putting these preservatives in these products because it's cheap and it's quick.
Mhm.
Like, do they not care? How can you sleep at night and do that?
Well, that's the crazy thing is that in the hair industry and
Mm,
in I'm assuming that it's global because these
mm,
companies
mm,
are pretty big. Like there's three big companies that run the show and
mm,
just like right? Like you created your brand out of a personal need, want, and desire. You are so invested in that brand. Nobody's going to take that away from you. Nobody's going to tell you, okay, sorry, this ingredient now costs $5 more to produce, however many bottles. We need to cut it and we need to go this less inexpensive route. Your mind, you're like, nope, we're sticking with, at least this is what
mm,
I'm thinking. We're sticking with it, and the cost of the bottle is going to go up
mhm,
$5 or
mhm,
$6 or whatever it is, right? And I
mm,
think the consumer, knowing that, would also 100% think the same, right?
mm,
But when you remove the people like you and I, like, so I don't have a wet line, but I have a hair extension line, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's certain parts of that that are different from every other hair extension line that's out there that are imperative to me.
Amazing.
And it could be, for me, it would be like, okay, well, it's less expensive for you to go to China and get that hair and get it permed. It's more
Mhm.
expensive. And it's like finding the tip of a needle in a haystack to find someone who actually produces your product in India. But it's
Mm.
so important to me that that's just the route I'm gonna go, and it really doesn't even
Yeah.
matter because I've spoke, volumes about why it is that way. But when
Mm.
you're a corporation
Yeah.
and there's not that direct person with the passion, the want, the drive, and the need, I think that then it becomes this easier thing to conceptualize because they're always just concerned about the bottom line. And so back to that preservative, like if
Mm.
it's a known cancer causing agent, why are we still dealing with it?
Why is it allowed? And I think that that speaks to the whole beauty and the regulation system. Like the FDA recently announced, I think it was what, 4 or 5 days ago, announced that they are no longer, or they're discussing no longer approving products that contain formaldehyde. And whilst I absolutely think that's a win, quite a few people have since messaged me and emailed me saying, yeah, well, there'll just be a workaround because, they don't want to keep the companies who produce formaldehyde out of a job. And it, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Like, this causes cancer. Why does it have any business, in any product that we use on ourselves?
You know
Blows
what's
my mind.
interesting about that too? So, gosh, I don't even remember when it happened. And I mean, I can even say the brand. Like when Brazilian Blowout first came out, do you know that? Are you familiar with that product?
Yep,
So
yep, yep.
there was the whole chaos of it all, right? And it started with the people in the factory that were producing the product like
Mhm,
they were the first ones that said that they were getting lung cancer and whatever.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and so caused the company to redo whatever it is that they redid. So
mm.
in the formaldehyde factories, how is anybody alive?
Right, right. And it's still in it now. It's a form of it now. And again, in the co-working space that I use, because I'd rather be around people than just in an office, I met a lovely woman, and you could see that her hair was like mine, but it was straightened. And obviously, we started talking about hair, and she said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I get a Brazilian blow dry," and I was just like, "Oh, okay." I'm not about to judge someone for their life choices. And I said, "How come?" And she said, "It's just so much easier." And I was just like, "Okay, like I hear you," which I do hear that. I understand that we're busy, especially if you don't understand your natural hair and you're trying to learn about it. I completely sympathize and I get it. What clearly has not been communicated at all to this woman that I met was the fact that actually using this on a regular basis is building up this formaldehyde on your scalp, which can, I mean, and I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say, so, do you know what I mean? Um, it's just frightening to me that it's just so flippant, like, oh. And today, this morning I was at an event and I was speaking to a few women who said, yeah, I relax my hair, and I couldn't help it. I said, okay, like, and again they said it's because of time, I've got kids. And I said, I completely respect that. I'm an auntie, and my big sister, who does have natural afro hair, she uses Jim and Henry, not just, I mean, come on, I'm her sister, but she uses my products not just because they're natural, but because of how quick they are and they get through her hair, and that's what she loves. So it's a dual thing. And I shared that, and these two women in particular said, oh, okay, she doesn't relax it anymore. And I said, no, like, did you hear about the lawsuit against quite a few companies last year? um, who proved that it was in the States, but the lawsuits proved that these ingredients in relaxer actually cause ovarian, breast, stomach, brain, and lung cancer. It was a huge case, and I can't not share that information. Like I just feel like it would be really irresponsible. And they just looked horrified at me. I said, "Look, please, like I am not trying to scare you. I'm just sharing the information. Do what you want with it. They can, you can Google it yourself. The
Mhm.
information is out there, but it doesn't seem to be well known, a lot of this stuff. And
I didn't even hear about this lawsuit.
oh my
That's
goodness, what? Yeah,
mhm.
so again, an American woman, she developed cancer. I can't remember which kind, but she then found a study that proved that these certain ingredients in relaxer cause all these cancers. And then lots of other people came forward saying, look, I've relaxed my hair since I was a child. I'm now in my 40s. I now have cancer. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So
Well, that is like, I mean, a staple in a hair salon that just caters to your type of hair. Like
mhm,
a mom goes in. So, in the United States, there's a lot of blended families, and
mhm,
it's like one of the hardest um in our salon. Like we'll have a Caucasian mom bring in an African American daughter that she has with her husband who's African American, and the mom has
mhm.
5 strands of hair and is like, I have no idea what to do with my daughter's hair. I mean,
Mhm.
and no, whatever we would tell her to make her life easier, she'd be like, okay.
Yep.
And that's how that happens and starts at an early age. Now we don't relax hair. We're petrified of relaxers
Mm.
because it's just like it can break off hair in such an instance. It can give your
Right.
scalp
Burn the
such
scalp.
chemical burns, like in
Mhm,
an instant. And but you can see like the vulnerability of this
mm,
mother with this
mm,
child, and she's just like, I have no idea what to do. And
mhm,
we go through it, we teach her, we show like this is the best way to wear your daughter's hair natural, but it's going to require you to be on top of it, detangling it
mhm,
whenever
mhm,
you wash it. And
mhm.
it's going to take a while. Like it's going to
Yeah.
take a couple hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's be real. Yeah.
It's your Sunday, like it's your
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon thing or Sunday night thing. Like, but to give to your daughter everything that she needs, or your son, like this is just part of it.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
teaching that has been really interesting because it's literally just like a total lack of knowledge, you know?
Yeah. 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 And that's what I find on a daily basis. Like I was talking to my mum the other day who said, Tam, it's crazy how you say to me, oh, these people are saying, I'm not sure how to do my daughter's hair. I'm not sure how to do my hair. But in the 90s, things were so much easier. And I said, "Oh, what do you mean, Mom? There were fewer products then, surely?" And she said, exactly. The rise of social media and the fact that YouTube exists and influencers exist and people will try these styles that they've seen online and then become frustrated that they aren't recreating those exact same styles at home.
Hmm.
And I just thought, you know what? She's like, Mom's right. It's right. Even though those products she was using on us probably weren't great, it was
Yeah.
a simpler time. And now things just do seem muddled up and a lot and intense, and it can just be overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, so many scenarios come to my mind when you say
Mm.
that, right? So, like when I was little, I remember, and this actress, like do you remember, do you know who Farrah Fawcett is?
Yes,
Like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so her hair had like
Yeah.
the wings, right? And I remember I went to the hair salon with my mom. My mom always like, she was a single mom for a while. And then she married my stepdad. And then my stepdad had a terrible accident and she had to work like crazy. But like she always took care of her hair. And my mom's hair was straighter than mine. Like it would easily go into these
Mm,
wings, right? So I went and got the haircut. My hair did
yeah.
not go into those wings. And then my neighbor, she got the haircut, but she had poker straight hair and it was
Mm,
perfectly. Like I
yeah.
remember stomping home from the bus stop in third grade because my hair did not look like hers. It was so
Mm.
ridiculous. But then fast forward to now, right? So on the word of influencers, have you ever heard of Masterclass? It's
Uh,
like an app and
yes,
it's
yeah. Yeah, I know
with,
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
and something that I love to listen to. Like if I'm doing something like computer, like I gotta have my AirPods in and be learning
Mhm.
something. If I'm folding
Same, yeah.
laundry, I don't like to have downtime, right? And so
Mm,
I'm watching this master class and with these two women who are like everywhere, right? And the one is hosting the class and the other one comes in and she's talking and she looks stunning. I've never seen her look so like in her element because her hair was
mm.
just thick and just had this wave and texture to it. And what's the first thing she says? I got to apologize for my appearance. My hair is natural and I'm on here, but I just have to add this into your conversation. And I was like, damn it. Her hair looked so
What?
good. And this is like an icon that's everywhere, everywhere. And her hair looked so amazing. I actually screenshot it and shared it
Mm.
onto my story because I was like, it was Khloe Kardashian. And it shocked me. Like she didn't
Okay,
have,
rewind. What?
she did, it's on the mom's, Kris Jenner's
Yeah,
master class. And
yeah.
Khloe comes in and she looks gorgeous, right? She's just in a black, simple top and jeans. And this hair is just like thick and wild. And she's like, I got to
Mm.
apologize for my appearance. I didn't have my hair done today because I didn't anticipate being on here. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh God, if you could use my extensions, because your hair is that texture, right?
Mm,
And so then you go to that fact of what your mother just said.
mm,
And what like my struggle is with my company is like I could go to a hair show and be in a
mm,
room with 30 women with hair extensions in their hair.
mm,
There'll be one person that looks like me.
mm,
Nobody shows this texture. It's so
mm,
blown out, it's cracking off. They've gotten
mhm,
straight extensions that are just collapsed in
mm,
comparison to their hair, and
mhm.
I'm like, it just, I'm like, how loud can I scream this from the rooftops? Like your textures, if you're going to wear hair extensions, right? And you're
Mhm.
going to drop that wad on your hair, the textures better match because it's a
Yeah.
dead giveaway when the
Mhm.
person walks away with the blowout crispy and then the silky
Yeah.
shiny hair extensions. So it's shocking, you're just like,
Mm,
why whenever I think like we're in this century for our
yeah.
year of acceptance,
Mhm.
we're still really eons behind
Mhm.
the
It's
acceptance of
bizarre to me. Yeah, it's especially in celebrity culture. When I see black women in, on TV, in films, and, and more often than not, especially black women who are, I'd say, over 40, it's very classic that their hair will be straight. Now, I'm not trying to change their minds at all, but I would love to see their natural texture. I
Yeah.
would love to just see, and I bet it's beautiful because I look at my aunties and like my auntie overcame cancer, and mercifully she's well, she's great, Auntie Bev. And her hair, she did initially lose her hair, but then it came back, and her afro, oh my, this beautiful texture. And I said, Auntie Bev, I have never seen your hair like this. And she said, no, 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 I don't like it. I need it straightened. I was like, no, please don't do that. Please don't do that. So she
Know
blows
who
it
you're
out.
talking to.
Right? I mean, she doesn't, she doesn't relax it anymore, obviously because of the cancer, but she straightens it. And I do think it's just a generation thing. If that's what she's comfortable with, fine. But I just sometimes wish I could give her the love I feel for my natural hair, because I can walk into a room and just own it without even thinking about my hair.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Everybody will be talking to you because your hair looks freaking amazing, right? Like, let's be real. Like, there is, I talk about this too. Like, I go to the grocery store and I could have 5 new clients walking out because people will stop. They're like just in such awe. And when I was a
Yeah.
little kid, my mom would go crazy because people would be like attacking me in the grocery store, like to get their hands in my hair. And this, I'll never forget too, one time being at a hair show with
Yeah.
a lot of hairstylists. This was before I actually had extensions in my hair. And someone came up behind me, another hairstylist, and grabbed my hair and was like, "Is this extensions?" And I was like, could you imagine if I would have had them in and
Right.
grabbed
Yeah.
my hair? Like,
Get
it was
off.
so shocking. But, it is the honest to God truth. Like, the confidence to carry that lion's mane that you have, or it's like, there's nothing else like it.
Yeah. And it's mad to me now because, I'm in my 30s and I have a twin sister, and for pretty much all of our teenage years, I was known as the twin with straight hair. And I look back at photos, right? I look
How
back
is
at
that
photos
possible?
and I think, damn. And it's, and then when I'd wash it, it was just so short, it was so dry, and then I'd just straighten it again. And I feel like, I don't want to say I feel like a new person, but I really do just own the fact that this is who I am. This is who I
Mhm.
am.
How did you get it straight? Like that, when I was
Yeah.
young, the crap I did to my hair to try and get it straight. I'll never forget my 7th grade photo, like, because I literally brushed it. Like, I had the night before, I'm like, I'm gonna brush it out. And I'm 48, so this
You look
generation,
amazing. What?
I
You
am,
look
I'm
amazing.
48. I'm 48. A life of crazy coffee and working in the hair world, like talking and I think standing and just, I don't know, but thank you. I've always looked really young, and it's helped me, and it's been hard at times. Like when I first started doing hair, I was 17 years old in the hair salon, and I remember one woman, she was in her 60s, and she was like, "That baby is not going to cut my hair." And I was like, I'm
Okay.
like, eye connection, and I said
Yeah.
to her, I was literally crapping in my pants. But I
Oh,
said to her, I'm like, "You know what? You need to take a chance on me because I'm really good at what I do, and I'm gonna give you the best haircut that you've ever gotten." And she was like, "Okay, let's see."
I love
Oh my
that. I love
gosh,
that.
no pressure, right? Like,
Right.
but then she was my client until she moved to another state. Like, and
Amazing.
Um, so yes, thank you. Thank you for telling me I look young. Be on this podcast next week too. But we used to, were mall bangs. was that a term ever like in the okay, so this was so
What?
crazy. Mall bangs, like that, it was like if you go back and you look at the early 80s videos, you'll see this crazy full hair that we used to wear. Like the front of my hair would probably stand up that tall on my and then the sides would be like this too. Like it was so insane. And I could make it happen so easy
Okay.
because my hair was so thick. But when you hear what we used, you'll just vomit, right?
Oh
So
my
there
God,
was
I'm
this
scared.
old hairspray called Aquanet. Have you ever heard
Okay.
of that?
No,
Oh my
no.
gosh, you got to research it because you will not even believe that I put that
Oh
on my
God.
hair.
Okay.
So I would take it and I would take this whole section in a hot curling iron, right?
Oh
Heat
my God.
to smooth it, hold it up with the curling iron attached, spray this aerosol Aquanet hairspray that, I think it was $1.99 for a massive can. So it was nothing
Good
good.
grief.
And
Okay.
then we would take the blow dryer and blow dry it. So it literally
Oh my
was
goodness.
like a wall. And
Oh
then
my
we would
goodness.
do the same in the sides. Hit it with the hairspray and the blow dryer. I mean,
That's
this stuff,
hilarious.
it was huge. I'm gonna find a photo of it. I'm gonna send it to you and you are gonna crack up. But like
Why? Why did you do? Why was that?
that was the trend. That was the trend. Like,
That's brilliant.
at the time, probably, who would have been, it was like, if you just go and look at those early 80s videos, you'll see
Yeah.
it on the teenagers. It was hideous. And my family would make so much fun of me. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's my hair.
That's so funny. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't go through that at all. Just to clarify.
Luckily, you were the generation where it was like
Yeah.
poker straight, flat.
Or at least I tried to get it poker straight. So because my big sister always relaxed her hair, I remember mom was just like, nah, that you two aren't, that's not happening to you two. Um, so like I could straighten my hair now with a hairdryer, literally just wash my hair, deep condition, rinse it out. Once my hair was bone dry, you just, get the round brush and you go over it and you go over it and you go over it. And then you go in with the straighteners and the amount, I would just dry my hair out. And I'd use like hair grease, like Blue Magic,
Ugh.
Dax, Pink Luster, just this heavy stuff. And it was quite stiff because I actually would put quite a lot in. And then you'd have to go
Because
over it
more is
again,
always best.
right?
Mm.
And then the next day, do it again. And it was awful. It was awful. So
Can we talk about that? Like, what are your views on? So I am like, I'm not an oil person, right?
mhm,
I always like that I've been taught a long time ago that it can actually suffocate your hair, whereas a lot of people think it moisturizes your hair. So can
mhm.
you like give us like just what's your opinion? What's your feelings on that?
So with oil, we highly, highly discourage and never ever recommend anyone putting oil on their scalp because of the way it blocks the sebum. It can interfere with sebum, what sebum naturally does. So for those of us who don't know, sebum is that natural film that's on your scalp that's made up of bacteria, dirt, oil, keeps the pathogens out, and it's always that keeps the pH of your scalp healthy. But when you
Mhm.
add oil, it can disrupt that and block it and stop it from doing its job, which is keeping your scalp healthy. So we never, ever, ever recommend putting oil on your scalp. However, in terms of putting it on your hair, again, there's so much chat about, oh, it does this, it moisturizes your hair. Oil doesn't, it just provides shine. That's
Mhm.
it. It literally just reflects the light well. Yes, it will feel nice because it's oily. What we tend to do, and what I generally recommend, is that you can use it as a mask. So you'll mix it with a little bit of your leave-in in the shower, leave it on, I'd say 10 minutes, but
Mhm.
wash it out. Wash it out. Because you don't want the oil before the leave-in, because then the leave-in won't work. Do you know what I
Right,
mean?
because it's blocking it,
Yeah. Yeah.
blocks it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's the problem that we have is with when it comes to extensions
Mm,
in the US, and I think this is global as well, is
mm.
that everybody's like, "Oh, you need the oil to moisturize the
Mm.
hair," right?
Oil
And
doesn't moisturize hair. It
it
doesn't.
doesn't. And it comes from, like I said, my extensions, they're from India, and there's so many
Mm,
reasons why. So many less chemical
mm,
processes, etc. And in
mm.
China, a lot of the extensions are coated with silicone. And after so many washes, the silicone washes away and the hair doesn't look as shiny as it
Okay.
once did. So hence the oil, the oil, the oil. But
Mm.
then they put on the oil, the oil, the oil, and then they heat style it. And the oil holds in the heat like a
Mhm.
microwave. And then we get what's called a thermal haircut, right? Like
Yeah.
you killed the internal portion of the hair and
Mhm.
you're going over it, going over it, going over it with hot tools, and then it breaks off.
Yeah.
And
You're
so,
literally burning the hair. Yeah.
right, from the inside out, like, and it's holding in the heat so intensely. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I just can't talk enough about this misconception of what it's
Hmm.
really doing, right?
Hmm.
Like this hair texture doesn't need oil on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it feels pretty soft, and unless you touch my natural hair. My just because of age, like I'm addicted to having, I love blonde hair, I have gray hair, I touch up my roots, I like dimensional colors. So when you
Mhm.
put your hair through those processes, there's a price you pay. And
Yeah.
it just is what it is. I try to do my best, but um
Mm.
yeah, that oil is, it blows my mind how, again, just like influencers and stuff, oil is
Oh,
everywhere.
it's so weird, right? It's so like the whole rosemary oil thing. I cannot cope. I cannot cope. And it's based on a study. I mean, the results of the study are it does not indicate at all that rosemary makes your hair grow. So it's the minoxidil versus rosemary essential oil study. Right. Chemical, natural. Now, after 3 months of using minoxidil or rosemary, the two groups reported growth with minoxidil, but nothing with rosemary. Fine. And then after 6 months, there was growth on both sides. How on earth can you then conclude, looking at those results, that rosemary oil makes your hair? I mean, that's nonsense. And instead, big brands have latched onto this and said, well, after 6 months, your hair's going to grow anyway. But no one wants to talk
Right.
about that. Right. After half a year.
Especially if you put focus into it, where where focus what is the
Yeah.
term, like where focus goes, energy flows,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. I do believe that. Like if, I've got like here, I had a pat on my elbow, I had a dry patch. And for a week I was just putting on shea butter and it's gone. It's absolutely fine. Because I
Right.
was focused on sorting it out,
Yeah,
right?
you took care of it. Yep.
Yeah. It it drives me mad.
Yeah, the other thing that is the hair growth,
Mm,
and I cannot speak one way or another about this because I've not done the research, but like castor oil is making a huge, huge, it's all over TikTok,
mm.
like to take, pour it in your belly button for this, put it on your eyebrows for that, put it here for this. Like, what's what should we know about that product?
Okay. Let's begin, right?
So excited.
I am well versed in this. Okay, so castor oil is a rich oleic, mostly oleic acid based oil. So oil generally is made up of palmitic, stearic, linoleic, and oleic acids, right? They are the acids in the oil. Oleic acids typically are in oils that are quite fatty, they're quite greasy, they're normally quite viscous, so thick. Olive oil, castor oil, like butters, shea, and with coconut oil, it's an in between. Now, oh, where do I begin? Where do I begin? When I was living in London, working as a journalist, I was like, oh, my hair just feels a bit dry. My scalp just feels a bit dry. I had no issues, but I just thought, it feels a bit dry.
Mm-hmm.
I would put castor oil directly onto my scalp, this thick oil, which just made it kind of greasy. And then I'd have to wash it out anyway, right?
Like 10 times, because how does it
Right?
even come out? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was using, natural leave-ins that actually sorted me out compared to the castor oil. So it wasn't the castor oil that makes your hair better. That said, with our leave-in conditioner 10 and 10 Pro, they both contain a castor oil because it's such a rich oil that holds onto, I don't want to say moisture, but it gives that softness, which oil will do.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is mixed with water, which is key. It's mixed with emulsifier. Now, emulsifier is the ingredient that mixes water and oil together. That's why they're in our products. You cannot just mix them together and expect great results just at home without a high-speed shear mixture, which is what we have in our commercial kitchen. But castor oil
So
doesn't make
then,
your hair grow.
so then the way that you mix them together, they don't separate in the bottle, I'm assuming. Does it stay?
Yeah. So all of our conditioners contain water and shea butter. That's the base. To make water and oil merge together, you need an emulsifier, and that's what we use. It merges it together. That's how everyone mixes oil and water together, and that's why 10 and 10 Pro. So 10 is for my hair. I use 10 Pro more because I like the moisture injection. All of our range is obviously pH balanced, but 10 Pro is thicker. 10 is literally 8. So that's our 8 ingredient leave-in with the castor oil and olive oil added. Fine. But 10 Pro, it's a thicker emulsion. It's for afro hair, and it's incredible.
Oh, that's so cool. That's well, the podcast is actually airing right now that I did with Wendy Isles. She's I love her products too. And she said, you can have the best ingredients in the world, but if you don't have science backing it, right? Like how you just explained that whole scenario, right? Like people are dumping straight castor oil in their hair and expecting
I mean, I've done it.
crazy results,
Yeah.
And so without the science behind it to actually make the product work in a manner that is effective,
Exactly.
it's just that. Like it's
just putting a raw product like on your hair, on your face, and expecting amazing results. If it's not with the water, it's not going to hydrate. It will just sit on top. I could grab some castor oil right now if I had some in the house, put it on my hair. It wouldn't reveal my curl pattern. It wouldn't hydrate my hair. It won't, it would make it kind of soft but heavy because it's castor oil. But when it's mixed with the water, with the emulsifier in a proper hair conditioner made to standards, made to UK standards, then you've got an effective product.
It's so interesting to me to find out like the science behind everything. Like I get like what is it? Hyper focused. When I love
Mm,
something, I want to know everything about it, right?
yeah.
And I'm always so intrigued by like the people like you creating a product out of need and want and researching. Like I look at the back of a bottle, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm
Mm.
like, I'm gonna trust that this is good.
Yeah,
Because I look
of
at those
course.
words and I'm like, what on earth is in this?
Mhm.
And so I couldn't imagine, like, I think it's at age 13, you said, or was it 7?
Yeah, yeah, I was 30. So 7 was when the migraines happened.
I
I mean,
started.
I'm
Mhm.
migraine free. But when I was 12, 13, I just zoned in. And I guess that's why I became a journalist, because I'm always interested in the key point or the active ingredient. Often the rest is noise, you know,
Mhm.
which is why our products only contain 8 ingredients, 10 ingredients, because I realized, wait, so I need these things to make conditioner. Why on earth am I adding glycerin, coconut oil, protein, like hydrolyzed protein? Like, does that actually help? Just ingredients that I wasn't definitely not familiar with, but from what my experience from using them didn't actually help my hair. I've
Mhm.
always been interested in that key point. So that's that's just what I'm like.
So would you say then when you what was the first product you created in your brand?
8, 8 leave-in hair conditioner. And I remember when I got to that formulation, I was just like, wow, this is
How'd
making my
you
hair.
how did you like it's so unbelievable. Like how did you get to that formulation? Like were you like in your kitchen? Were you
Yeah,
in your bathroom? And
yeah,
how did you get it? Like what
yeah,
where do you buy this stuff?
yeah. So I was working as a journalist, living in London, living with this guy, Dan's flatmate, and I was making these concoctions in my room, adding essential oil to the conditioner that I already had. And I thought, I've got to be able to do it properly myself. So I'm not joking. On my lunch breaks, I would call around like the cosmetic formulators, and say, so how do I do it? Call like the regulatory boards, like everything to do with the MSDS form, so material safety data sheet, which you need for every ingredient when you're developing a product. There was just a whole other scholarly time and world that I revealed and that I had to become immersed in before I could even think, right, what do I do next? A lot of conversations, a lot of emails. And then I was like, right, I need these products. Let's buy them. So I bought these ingredients. And then I was mixing in a blender, literally in my kitchen.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
literally a NutriBullet, literally in my kitchen. And you go, and then you take it off, and I was like, oh, wow, like this amazing product. I'm not joking. I was blending in. So I went from NutriBullet to, is it the Ninja, the Ninja one?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I had a few of those. I'm not going to lie, up until 2020, I want to say. We were doing it literally in blenders. And then I was like, so the demand's getting quite high. I need an actual proper machine. And that's when I went like proper big scale. So yeah.
So do you still produce them all yourself?
Yeah, so I've got a team. We do everything in a commercial kitchen. And it's so funny because looking back, it was chaotic, shall we? It was chaotic. But yeah, we do everything in-house because, and people ask me this all the time, like, why didn't you go to a manufacturer who can make what you make in a day in 5 seconds? You know what I mean? And quite frankly, it's about the purity of the brand and the product. So let's say I went to a big manufacturer and I said, right, I need this. It's only 8 ingredients. I have no idea. Well, I know because they tell me the other products that they make. But I have no idea that in that same barrel or in that same factory, there's not formaldehyde or a derivative lying around or ingredients that we just never, they just don't come in contact into our kitchen. They don't exist in our world. I can't have that risk and sleep well at night. And also we protect our intellectual property that way as well.
Mhm. Yeah. So, um, do you rent the commercial kitchen or is
Yes.
it in your home? Okay,
Yeah.
so you
Oh,
rent.
no, 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 no. Cannot. No, no, no. Moved out of the house a while ago because that was a wild time. Yeah, yeah. So it's local to where I am now. Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, excuse me. I did not sleep good last night. I started this training and I'm sure this happens to you. Like I had this idea in my head that just kept like the only way I can describe it is it's spinning like, the bubble graphs we would make in school, right?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you have your main idea and then you have this,
And
this,
then yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's me.
all night I'm like, oh my gosh, like the next thing, So,
Yeah.
and then I get up at 5, I was up at 5 and I went to work out and then the day just took on. So excuse my yawn, that's why.
It's
But
okay.
so then how, at what point will you outgrow that kitchen or will you just rent like the next larger size kitchen?
Yeah, so we are looking for investment so that we can have our own manufacturing unit that we own, our own building. That's the next step because we grow our own rosemary as well and we press it into essential oils, but we don't have a large enough harvest to do like 10,000. That's not the level we're at. But when we get there, we will need more land. We'll need a whole proper warehouse that's ours.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
like that the again the podcast that's happening right now with that Wendy Isles, like she owns her own manufacturing company, like her own is in Orange County, California. And
Mhm.
she said it's the same for her
Mm.
owning those ingredients, like because it's so, I mean, when you just like a package of food, right? Cook
Mm.
it if I'm dairy free, right? Cooked in a kitchen that contains milk, soy, nuts, and blah blah blah, right?
Exactly.
So
Mm.
you do have to really, really think about that. With the hair extensions, so I'm the same. Like I'm like these little babies, like they can't go anywhere. And
Yeah. Yeah.
before the pandemic, it was in the office of my house.
Yeah.
And because hair, unlike, what you're doing, like it collapses pretty
Yeah.
easy,
Yeah.
but it took up a lot of space. And then the pandemic happened and my husband needed the office, right? And so my mom runs that company for me. She's the person who takes in the orders and does
Mm.
all of that and shipping and everything. And so my mom and my husband were working in the same office
Oh gosh. Okay.
together.
Okay.
That lasted like
That's
3 days.
crazy.
And my husband was like, we got to do something. He'd
Yeah,
be,
please. Yeah.
he'd get a call, like he's on this side of the desk, she's on this
Oh
side of the desk,
God.
like this. Our desk in there is literally like a big, like, it's not a kitchen table, but like it's like an elegant, big wooden desk. So
Yeah.
it was big enough so them to be on either side. And I'll never forget that. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot
Yeah.
even deal with this.
Yeah.
And we moved everything to my mother's, and which thankfully, like that, you know my mom has a big house and you know, it's her and her dog, right? So it's really not a problem. And when there needs to be help, there's help, right? But I
Mm,
keep thinking that too, like, at what point do
mm,
you get to where you're like now it's been in my house, like it's been
mm.
in that scenario where it's
Yeah,
covered, right, under
yeah,
my umbrella for so long. Like,
yeah.
was it hard for you to get comfortable moving those ingredients that you treated like little babies into an
What's
open space?
Yeah, well, what's funny is that I am quite precious about my stock and my ingredients anyway. And like even in the house, I remember like, initially it was just like mom helping, and then it was, my cousin's son and his girlfriend. And I was like, so guys, remember what I said? Do you remember what I said? And they'd look at me like, and I was like, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I just needed a minute to be calm. But I wouldn't say I'm I was more precious, or even I felt a bit concerned about moving, because it's exciting,
Yeah,
like growing and realizing, oh, we are outgrowing this space, and actually we need a bit more space. We need to spread out. I mean, it's like a dream come true. It really is.
yeah, because it does mean success has happened. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's it is, it's like it's those growing pains,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, okay, this is comfortable. I think that that's the other part of it too, is like it's comfortable. And a couple times,
Mm.
friends of mine that own businesses, they're like, well, why don't you move to a manufacturing distribution center?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, don't you
Yeah.
worry about theft? Like,
Right. Mm.
I would be petrified. We're not
Mm.
talking, about a $3 headband here.
Yeah.
We're talking about, I mean, each piece is quite a bit of money. And
Mm.
I'm like, as much as I would like it would be as you I honestly don't think I could go that route. I would have to go the same way like you. Like it
Mhm.
still would have to be private. And I
Yeah.
couldn't just be okay with anybody just mass handling these things
Yeah.
because it is.
You can't because you have put your whole self into this company that is helping others, and then some big company who, just like you said, cares about the bottom line. I mean, I can't do that. No thanks.
No, because it's just not, honestly, it's just not in everybody else's best interest. It's like
Hmm.
when that's the the passion behind the brand and the way that it was created creates that stellar product. And then when things get sold off over time, it's hard because, like, people always say, well, what's your end result? When are you gonna sell this? When are you gonna, and I'm like, I just don't see that happening because
Hmm.
I just love it so much. Now, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, will it be different in 10 or 20 years? I don't know. But
Yeah.
I just think like that initial, like, mm.
Yeah.
and
Uh,
and
yeah.
with your product too, so you created eight first.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna assume 8 Pro was second or no?
So 10 Pro, but
10
10.
Pro.
So I started with 8. So again, it goes back to my sisters. So I started with 8, and I was like, this product's great. Like, my friends are loving it, family members are loving it. I'm gonna get it all like legally sorted, all the testing. So I did all of that, the water test, the preservative test, etc. And then my big sister said, 8's fine, like it's fine, but actually, can you make something richer for my afro hair? So I said, okay, let me do that. So I made 10, and she said, Tammy, it's great. I can feel a difference, but it's not thick enough. And I was like, okay, let me make something thick for you. And that's 10 Pro. Yeah.
So when she said that to you, were you really first accepting like that? Or were you like, what is wrong with you? This is perfect.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I initially was like, what do you mean? Give me, I want to know the details. I'm okay with criticism, but is it fair? Right? I'm like, what do you mean? Tell me specifically. And you know, Danny's great. She's great. So, and I wanted to make something for her that would make wash days easier.
Hmm.
And I get quite excited about the idea of something new. So I was like, let me see if I can do it. And I did it.
And you did it. How many products do you have in total?
Now we have 5, yeah. So our 3 hair conditioners, and then we've got our hair oil and our shampoo, and that's it. That's it.
That's I love when a line is just like that because it's like this is so good that this is all you need, right? Like here's your shampoo. This it's gonna work. It's gonna do what it needs to do, and these are the reasons why. And then here's your 3 conditioners. Take your pick. Like
Mhm.
it's either right. So you told us about 8 and 10 Pro. What is the third conditioner?
So it's 8 and 10. So 8 ingredients. 10 is
Oh, I
8.
see.
Yeah,
And then
sorry. So
Danny said make it thicker and 10
yes,
Pro happened.
yeah. So 10 is 8 with olive oil and castor oil added. 10 Pro is identical to 10, but it's thicker.
And
That's it.
then the hair. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love simplicity like that because so many brands
Mm,
now are like, oh, you're gonna look left, use this. You're gonna look straight.
yeah.
Oh, you need
Yeah.
that. Look right.
Yeah.
Oh, let's add this in,
Yeah.
And so many brands too. I love that yours caters to not only curly, but this specific type of curly, right? Because um this is another thing that I run into is there's all these brands that'll have 40 to 50 SKUs and then they
Hmm.
have 3 things for curly just to fill a void and it's not
Yeah.
a curly line,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly.
And so I'm like I that just doesn't work for me either. I want
Mm.
it to be specific.
Mhm. Yeah.
Very
I know exactly what you mean because then it feels inauthentic. And
hmm.
it's like, right, did you just add this on as an afterthought to make money? Like, what do you know about natural hair, if anything at all? Mm.
Usually it's nothing because it is an
Yeah.
it is an afterthought. It's literally like when
Yeah.
there's 50 products and only 3 for
Yeah.
curly hair, like it's like, yeah,
Mm.
that is just a thought, right?
Mm.
So is there anything else that you would like to tell us about Jim and Henry that we didn't discuss?
Oh gosh, I just feel like there's so much. There's so much. What I'm doing at the moment is we're putting the feelers out to see if anyone would be interested in a sort of guidebook slash course. Because honestly, like myself and Jess, so my assistant, we are constantly receiving emails and questions from everyone, whether they use our products or not, asking, so what do I use on my hair? Can I use this product? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? What about my children? And we like to cut through the noise. I really like to just say, okay, hold on. Let's just strip it back. What are you using at the moment? What do you want to use? Do you want a simple routine? And more often than not, that's what everyone wants. Something that's simple, it's straightforward. They can do it in the morning and go. So what
So
we're doing at the moment is, yeah, sorry, yeah.
when they're asking you for this, are they asking you for the regimen plus technique? Like styling technique? You know what I'm
Not
saying? Like,
not so much the styling, because we could recommend styles, but really our USP and our forte is ingredients and hair care. So washing it and why washing it is actually better than not washing it, it turns out.
Hmm.
And the biggest crock Black women in particular have been sold is to say don't wash your hair. Like, it drives me absolutely insane. Oh, don't wash your hair. And then the curly girl method. Oh my goodness. Like, where do I begin? And don't get me wrong, if it helps people look after their curly hair, great, and feel better about themselves, that is fantastic. But I
How
will
how often do you wash your hair?
twice a week
Twice a week.
least, at
And
least.
then this is me being like in my own lane with blinders on. The curly
Mhm.
girl method, is that the conditioning only? Like they just
Uh,
rinse it and condition it? Is that it?
pretty much. But it's also, the noise. People say things like wash your hair with lube. And I mean literally like lubrication for like intimacy.
Oh my God.
Why? Why like,
What, in what sentence does that sound like a good idea?
right? Right.
Oh my God.
It will not clean your hair. It will not moisturize your hair. I I why? Why? And then
Okay,
there's go
this
on.
solidifies this. I think you do have to make some videos then, because clearly there's a lot of misinformation out there. And um, are
Yeah.
you thinking of making it as a like a paid course type of thing?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because this isn't just me just saying it after doing 5 minutes of research. This is years of research, years. And I'm constantly in this field. I'm working with university. I mean, I can't really say that. I can say that. I can say that. I'm working with a couple of universities in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
And last year we released a sort of white paper, a very basic but white paper where I scanned and assessed over 500 products aimed at curly hair from the big brands like Aribe, um, God, to like high street brands, whether it's Miel Organics, whether it's As I Am, so aimed at Black women, as well as, Umberto Giannini, just general products, and then lower price ones. Every single product had 34 or more ingredients in. I know,
Wow.
I know. And then 12% it was up to 12% of those ingredients were carcinogens. And this information, it's not out there. My goal is to merely share, and then you can make your own decisions.
So this is what my bubble idea last night, right? Like my dream, like I'm working through a virtual program because I had virtual trainings for stylists that I created in 2021 for curly hair extensions. And then I created Karen styling videos for the consumer who wears our hair, because like what you're saying right now, I'd work all day and then I'd come home to 3 hours of DMs that I would
Yeah,
have to answer
yeah.
about how to make their hair look like mine, because they saw my hair and that's what they thought they were getting, and it doesn't look anything like it. Like it's tangled and matted because they're told to use the wet brush and a cream on their extension. Like,
Ah,
I mean, the disaster that that sounds like, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then my mom had said to me, you have to create Karen styling videos for the consumer.
Hmm.
And so I did. But now, like, now I'm 4 years in to
Mm,
owning the brand, 5 years into wearing it myself, my brand, and 3 years prior of wearing others, right?
mm,
I know so much more. I'm so much more comfortable in front of the camera.
hmm.
So I'm in a training to do the virtual videos. And I'm like, this time I want to learn the marketing, the everything of it, right?
Mm,
This course is so good.
mm,
And I think you would benefit from it greatly because there is a need for that. I mean, if
yeah.
if you did market research and you
Mm.
asked your consumers, or if you just did the work yourself, there's nobody out there talking about that.
Yeah, no one, literally no one, which blows my mind, frankly.
Yeah. I
Mm.
honestly think like, if you, with your passion behind it, your brand, and just those damn statistics that you just said to me, like
Yeah,
like that's all you'd have to get into be talking about on social about it, and boom, you
yeah.
know, you would that there is such a need
Mm.
for the explanation of taking care of curly hair. It resides more on the consumer side than it does
Mm.
the hairstylist.
Yeah.
Because a lot of hairstylists, sorry, hairstylists, I know this is probably going to irritate you, but a lot of hairstylists are like, yeah, I know curly, I know what I'm doing. And I can
Mm.
say that because the resistance of purchasing these videos before they purchase the hair is
Mm.
huge.
Mm.
But there's not a lot. If I wouldn't sit there with 3 hours worth of DMs if everybody knew what they were doing.
Right, right. But it's because they just don't.
Yeah,
They just don't have a clue. Yeah.
because it's always been about straight hair.
Always. And then when you talk about curly hair, there's just so many voices. And it's like, right, so which category do I fit in? Who do I listen to? Does that apply to me? There's just so much. And what I'm trying to do is make it bite-sized and simple and straightforward and just easy to follow, clear information.
Yeah, and well, and your niche, like,
Mm.
your niche is your niche. There is a
Mm.
certain you're at this particular curl level and then some, right?
Mm.
Like, this is that. So, I think
Mm.
you need to do it.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks for that.
I'm gonna send you that information. I'll send you the information
Yes,
because
please do.
it will really help you. Well, I'm so glad you reached out to me. I feel like we're like sisters across
Yeah,
the globe.
yeah,
We had so much to talk about and so
yeah.
much like this is, if you guys can all believe this is the first time that we talked. Like we hooked
Yeah.
up on Zoom. I said, wait, hold that thought. I'm just gonna press record and boom, here we go. This is how much I love
Yeah.
to talk to people. I love to talk. So if you ever have another topic that you want to talk about, if you have a thought in your head and you're like, I want to talk to Jennifer on her podcast again, you got to reach out to me. If I have a question, I'm going to reach out to you and be like, we're going to talk. Can we talk
Okay,
on my podcast about this?
okay,
Awesome.
cool.
So thank you so much for coming, and thank you. Thank you. I
Thank
don't know if it's late there. Are you up really late right
No,
now?
not at all. It's no, no, it's only 7:30 in the evening. It's only 7:30, but it's dark because it's winter, daylight
Yeah.
saving.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this has honestly been fantastic. Thank you so much. I've loved
Thank
this.
you. It was
I really
so fun. I could talk about hair and ingredients all day.
I know. I know. Same. I mean, I do. Yeah. So same. Same.
All right. Well, thank you for listening in on the Curly Girls podcast. Tell them where they can follow you on Instagram, on
Yeah.
social.
So our website is jimandhenry.com, and then our Instagram is _Jim JIMAND Henry HENRY _ and that's where we share everything. And we also have a private group on Facebook. So it's called the Jim and Henry Method, where I debunk all the noise. Yeah, that's where you can find us.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you for
much.
listening. Thank you for, this has probably been a long, how long did we talk? An hour?
I think, yeah, something
I
like
can
that.
never get it at 30 minutes. They're like, you got to talk for 30 minutes. I can't talk for 30 minutes to anybody.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. It might be 2 parts. I don't know. We'll see. And tune in next week. Who knows what I'll be talking about then? Maybe she'll be back. Who knows? But thank you for staying to the end. And thank you. We're so grateful for our listeners. If you could give us a follow, like, subscribe, write a review, we would love it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.